Well, my live streaming seems to be a little bit off. I'm not sure what orange means, but that ought to be red. But for those of you watching on Instagram, I know that you're getting it. I'm not sure about everybody else, frankly. Let me get in touch with our tech people here and see what might be the problem. Oh, there we go. I think we're all. It was probably live streaming in the first place, folks. But if I don't see the button on red for live streaming, that tells me there's some kind of problem. So, but at any rate, those of you on Instagram, since you are watching me separately on my cell phone, you don't have the issues. As long as I've got internet, I can come on to you all. But sometimes in my studio, we'll have a little technical glitch here and there because it's a little bit more complicated. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of E.W. Jackson for America. We are exactly 1 week away from the election. And as I predicted, I think now 2 weeks ago, mass hysteria is now what the Democrat Party is selling. They're trying to get everybody into a frenzy. And I'm not sure what this is going to portend for the election outcome. As I predicted, Donald Trump's going to win by 4 points, 52 to 48. And I say he's going to get into the 290s in terms of the electoral vote. That's my prediction. But the left is setting things up so that when he does win, there will be severe unrest in the country. That's the way they're setting things up. I'll go through that a little bit today to sort of spell that out. But I said last week, in fact, before all of this started, I said, this is what we're going to see. It's going to be mass hysteria. Donald Trump's Hitler, Donald Trump's a Nazi, his followers are Nazis. I mean, it is utterly preposterous. It's ridiculous. It really borders on the mentally ill. In fact, one psychologist has argued and is arguing that we may see one of the worst instances of mass mental breakdown that we've ever seen in history. Yeah, this is, I think this is Mark Halperin, if I'm not mistaken, describing how people are likely to react if Trump wins. Yeah, it's Mark Halperin, who recently told Tucker Carlson, quote, "I think tens of millions of people will question their connection to the nation, their connection to other human beings, their connection to their vision of what their future for them and their children could be like. And I think it will require an enormous amount of access to mental health professionals. I think it'll lead to trauma in the workplace. I think there'll be alcoholism. There'll be broken marriages." Yeah, these people, I mean, basically what he's arguing is there is going to be a massive mental breakdown in America. He says, I think there'll be some violence. He said, I think there'll be violence in the workplace. There'll be fights at kids' birthday parties. He said, protests will turn violent. So that's just one person, I realize, but when I did substitute it for Pastor Jeff Shreve on American Family Radio last week, and I asked the question, do you think there's going to be unrest? Every person who answered the question said, oh yeah, I think so. How can there not be if you are telling people that electing Donald Trump is the equivalent of electing Adolf Hitler? How can there not be unrest if that's what you're telling people? I mean, it is so ludicrous that again, the mental illness clearly has already begun, because that is mental illness. To be telling people that is delusional, particularly when you got somebody who's already been in office and demonstrated his leadership ability and did wonderful things for the country. And now you say, no, he and his followers, by the way, are Nazis. So, yeah, I mean, the predictions of mass mental illness, mental breakdown, it doesn't surprise me, because and frankly, I think it's right. I mean, if after Donald Trump was elected the first time, you had colleges giving people, do you all remember this? You had colleges giving people days off, mental health days. And that was where they started the puppy therapy and the crying rooms and all this stuff. A lot of that stuff sort of came to the fore, at least, because people were traumatized. Remember, they postponed finals because they thought that people were too traumatized to be able to take their finals with Donald Trump having been elected. Remember that? I mean, folks, that's mental illness. And frankly, it's really promoting a kind of mental and emotional weakness in the American people that is just dangerous for us as a nation. Let's put this on the other foot, just so everybody is clear what my perspective is. I really believe Donald Trump's going to be elected, as I said. But what if it were reversed? What if Kamala Harris got elected? Would I have a mental breakdown? Nope. My life is going to go on just the way it was. Now, I would obviously face some obstacles that I wouldn't otherwise face, because I think she'll wreck the economy, and I think she'll push a whole lot of sexual deviancy and moral depravity and killing of unborn babies. I think that stuff will run wild. And obviously, I care about those things, and it's going to mean I will just have to be doubling down on being the loyal opposition to this attempt to lead our country off the moral and spiritual cliff, as well as the economic and political cliff. But see, there's an old song that says, "This joy I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away. This peace I have, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it away." Jesus said, "My peace I give to you, not as the world gives, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." I talked in my sermon 2 sermons ago. I preached out of Psalm 112, and it says, the man who fears the Lord and delights greatly in his commandments is not afraid of evil tidings. He is never shaken. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. See, we have an anchor. That song says, in times like these, we need an anchor. In times like these, we need a savior. Be sure and very sure your anchor holds and grips the solid rock. That rock is Jesus. Yes, he's the one. And Jesus said, if you build your house on the rock, say when the floods come and the rains beat and the storm hits, it will not fall, because it is founded on a rock. So see that, look, I would be happy about it, but I'm not going to have a nervous breakdown. I'm not going to take the streets and start trying to kill people and destroy property and all of that. I'm gonna pray like I've always prayed, maybe even more fervently, if that's possible. I'm going to serve as I've always served. I'm going to just continue to do the things I have been doing. Like I said, maybe ratchet it up a bit, maybe figure out some other things that the Lord would have me do to respond to the present crisis. But my life is not going to fall apart, because my life is not based upon what happens in politics. My life is based upon my relationship with Jesus Christ. And that relationship is unshakable. But they don't have that. All they've got is their addiction to and insatiable thirst for power. All they've got is their demonic indoctrination with Marxism and socialism and collectivism. All they've got is their preoccupation with controlling the lives of other people. And you take that away from them and their lives fall apart because they don't have anything that's rooted and grounded in anything deeper than their own perverse lusts, whether it's for power or for sexual deviancy, or for control by killing unborn babies. It's a way of exercising control over life. Oh, you sleep around all you want, and if a baby ends up being produced, just kill it. That's all, and move on. So you can go on to your next round of promiscuity. Let's face it, folks. Killing unborn babies is not about protection from the results of incest or rape. That's not what it's about. That is an infinitesimal fraction of a fraction of what abortions are all about. And it's certainly not about protecting the life of the mother, because that's what those are. If I conceded incest and abortion and said, okay, those are the only circumstances in which abortions would be allowed, and everybody said, oh yeah, okay, well, we can agree with that, almost all abortions would end tomorrow. If I conceded that, almost all would end tomorrow. That they just use that as a tool of manipulation to convince people that you've got to allow this, as if because all these unborn babies we are killing are the results of incest and rape. And that's just another lie out of the pit of hell. Excuse me, folks. But I'm not going to fall apart. I'm just going to keep fighting in the name of Jesus. But look, it is obvious that the hysteria is building because they see the trend. And the trend is that Donald Trump continues to have momentum and Comrade Kamala continues to falter. And it does appear that Donald Trump is poised to win this election by a very convincing margin. We want him to win by a margin which is impossible for Democrats to cheat to overcome it. That's really the goal. They're continuing to call Trump a fascist. Let's go to this rally, this historic rally in Madison Square Garden, which is blue territory, of course. I mean, that's Democrat home turf. He packed out that arena. 19,000 people is what it holds. It was packed to the rafters. I think they would have had more people if the arena had been better. But Madison Square Garden, place of historic events. Donald Trump holds one of his closing rallies there, packs the place out, has a star-studded cast of political figures. I did not watch the thing. I just didn't have time to watch the entire thing. But it wasn't a Nazi rally. And it was not a rally talking about hatred of anybody. Again, and by the way, this first of all, as I said yesterday, it is not only an insult to Donald Trump, it is an insult to each of us who have voted for him or plan to vote for him. Because to associate us with Nazism is just, it's an extreme insult. It really is. I mean, it's enough of an insult that if I were not a Christian, I'd punch somebody in the mouth for saying it. Because it's just that much of an insult to me, to what I believe, to my country, and the things I'm fighting for. I'm not fighting to make anybody a dictator, and Donald Trump is not running to become a dictator, and I'm not fighting to out of any hatred for Jews. I love the Jewish people. I'm a supporter of Israel. And I'm certainly not fighting because I hate Hispanics or hate people coming across the border. I don't hate them. They have violated our laws. They have violated our sovereignty, and they've got to go. But I don't hate them. And I'm not doing it out of an act of hatred for them. I'm not taking that position out of an act of hatred for them. I'm taking it out of the position of love for my country. Remember, I was the first candidate, best kept secret in America, but I was the first candidate to argue for mass deportation. I was the first candidate to say it. Of course, the mainstream media was committed to absolutely censoring anything I had to say and not even acknowledging me as a candidate. But I was the first candidate to say we need to have mass deportation. I don't have my presidential website up, but that was on my website, mass deportation. Well, that's not hatred. It's redressing a problem that the Democrats and the left have created. And see, here's what they do. I mean, it's very good chess. They position you so that when you have to stop or oppose or reverse what they've done, they make you look like the bad guy. It's like I've said as a leader and a manager to people around me, please don't make, shall we say, critical decisions, particularly not regarding personnel and that kind of thing, without talking to me. Because if you do it, like I know something you don't know, and then I have to reverse it because of my superior knowledge about that person, about that situation, I have to reverse it. Guess what? I look like the bad guy. I look like you put me in a position where I look like the mean ogre who comes in and undoes this wonderful thing. And this is exactly how they're trying to position Donald Trump. Oh, you got all these people who've come here seeking asylum, and they're such nice people, and they're looking for jobs, and they're wonderful people. And Donald Trump calls them gangsters, and calls them thieves, and calls them rapists, and calls them murderers. And he wants to put them out of the country. What a terrible person he is. I mean, in fact, I really believe that's part of their strategy. Why they didn't just slightly open the door. They threw open the door wide because they figure we bring in millions upon millions, you'll never get them out. That's part of the strategy. You'll never get them out. Well, we're going to get them out. We've got to get them out. And that's not based on hatred of them. It's based on love of our country and a commitment to preserving the sovereignty of our borders, period. And anybody that doesn't like that, they can call us Nazis, they can call us whatever they want, but that's just the way it is. And I find it terribly interesting. A lot of these people are willing to give Zelensky all these billions of dollars to protect the Ukrainian border, and somehow wanting to protect the American border as an American makes you a Nazi, makes you a hater, makes you a bigot, makes you anti-Hispanic. I mean, as Chris Plants famously said, if these people didn't have double standards, they would have no standards at all. So they condemned MSNBC actually, and folks, this is really, it's hard to stomach because it is so personally insulting. But MSNBC had the nerve to play film of Nazi rallies while reporting on the Madison Square Garden rally. These people are so fundamentally dishonest. And again, this doesn't surprise me, but it's what, and it shouldn't surprise you. It's exactly what I predicted. But I mean, it just goes to show how low they will go. It just goes to show that there's no limit to the depths to which they will sink in order to get and keep power. The last time I did an interview with MSNBC, I said I'll never do one again. It was about the Tea Party. They brought me on to defend the Tea Party because, as I said then and say now, the Tea Party was not racist, was never racist. The Tea Party was about fiscal restraint primarily and about restoration of constitutional governance and principles. And it had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with race. It was not anti-racist in the least. Now, am I saying that a racist never showed up to a Tea Party rally? I'm sure some did. Who knows? You know, there would be people out there walking around with the Confederate flag, and I know every rally I attended, the leadership of the rally, but tell that person, you are not welcome here. We are flying the American flag. You have to go. So, yeah, did those things happen? Yeah, undoubtedly. Well, when I was defending the Tea Party, MSNBC apparently put together a string of racist signs and various things, attributed those to the Tea Party, and I don't believe they were Tea Party events. But even if they picked out some idiot here or there who was doing something, that was the B-roll they had running behind me. Here I am defending the Tea Party, and the B-roll running behind me says, "Look at this black idiot defending these bunch of racists, and look at all these racist things that they're saying and doing." It was a complete ambush. Last time I did an interview on MSNBC, I'll never do one again. Not unless somebody else takes over and they stop being the Marxist, socialist, no brains channel. It'd be a waste of my time. I'd be setting myself up. That's what they're doing with Donald Trump. They, instead of reporting on the rally that there were black and Hispanic and Christian and Jewish and Muslim and you name it, people from all kinds of backgrounds there, instead of reporting on that, oh, no. They played B-roll of a Nazi, an actual Adolf Hitler German Nazi rally to compare the two and say, yeah, this is just like that. I mean, it's despicable. That's what I mean. And by the way, folks, just to be clear, I said if I weren't a Christian, I'm not going to punch anybody, okay? But I'm saying this is the kind of stuff that makes you angry enough that, you want to punch somebody because it's so demeaning. It's so insulting. It so undermines your integrity as a human being, as if we would support Nazism, as if we would support this rabid anti-Semitism and hatred of people, wanting to kill people, which is exactly what Hitler wanted. Please. Donald Trump loves the American people and wants to do us good. That's the Donald Trump I support. That's the Donald Trump I'm spending money to do ads for. That's the Donald Trump I voted for. That's the Donald Trump I want to see president of the United States. With all of his flaws, which I'm all too aware of, he's one of the best presidents we've ever had in the history of this country. So they can say what they want to say. And 4 years from now, Donald Trump will go off the scene, and I don't know whether it'll be J.D. Vance or maybe me. I'm joking, folks. But who knows? Who knows what will happen between now and then? Who the next person will? Oh, Lord. I pray that it's not a Democrat. Oh, God help us. I pray that we don't have the pendulum swing right back into the communist camp. But at any rate, and by the way, Jewish people, particularly Orthodox Jews, but Jewish people from all stripes are really beginning to react to this now. Because they're beginning to say, no, wait. I know people who support Donald Trump. I mean, like me. I'm one of the biggest supporters of Israel in the United States of America. I mean, in fact, if you go to my Facebook page and you look at my program, Vision Awakening, which is what we call our program that we air, you'll see a big flag behind me with the Stand logo and the Israeli flag logo, and the American flag, Stand logo, and actually the American flag and the Israeli flag with the church logo and the Stand logo underneath, and it says, Stand with Israel. And then all around my podium are Israeli flags because we commemorated October the 7th, the day 1200 innocent men, women, and children, Jewish people, were massacred by Hamas. And I'm going to support a Nazi. It's so utterly ridiculous. Again, it's insulting enough to make you fight, but we don't do it. We don't do that. I just use that to express how godly angry it makes me. Okay? Not that I'm recommending that or would do that to anybody. I'm not going to punch anybody over this. I'm just saying. But that's how godly angry it makes you. And Jewish people are getting it because they were, wait a minute, the Holocaust was a unique event in human history where a leader set out to annihilate the Jewish people. And you're going to actually compare Donald Trump, who is a supporter of Israel, who has been to Israel several times, who has recognized, the only president to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, who has stood with Israel against all of her enemies, and you're going to compare a Trump rally to a Nazi rally? I think some Jewish people are saying, wait a minute, that's a bridge too far. Because they know the pain of the Holocaust. They know the anguish of the Holocaust. There's still Jews alive whose parents or grandparents were killed in the Holocaust. And to compare Donald Trump and a rally at Madison Square Garden and a movement of Donald Trump made up, by the way, probably overwhelmingly made up of people who are big supporters of Israel and the Jewish people. I mean, what world are you living in? What universe are you living in? Where do you get the unmitigated gall to even promote that bold and brazen a lie? But by the way, they're the fascists, because that's exactly what Adolf Hitler would do: concoct a lie and then promote it to the hilt. And his lie was the Jews are all our problems are the result of the Jews. And the lie that the left is selling, all our problems is Donald Trump and his followers, mainly white men. They're the problem. They're the ones who are behaving like Nazis and fascists, because their propaganda just never ceases of hatred against the people who they want to defeat. Okay, well, I was not at the Madison Square Garden rally, but I wish I had been. I couldn't be, but I wish I had been, because I think it was a magnificent event. And MSNBC is getting some backlash from Jewish people saying, how dare you, how dare you, how dare you, liken a presidential campaign rally with people from all kinds of backgrounds, including Jewish people. How dare you liken that to a Nazi rally? By the way, speaking of rallies, Kamala Harris was at a church in Philadelphia, or at least they call it a church. I wouldn't call it a church. I'll call it some kind of pseudo-Christian institution. But when she was speaking there, apparently she went into the whole black speak thing, trying to sound, I guess, trying to sound black. I guess this is a day for pointing out the many insults, because to me it is an insult for somebody to get up in front of a predominantly black congregation, or maybe it's all black, I don't know. Many of these black churches in the inner cities are 99 to 100% black. And then to go into this preacher speak. I don't feel no ways, Ty. I mean, I can't stand it when a preacher does it, particularly if it's feigned, if it's fake. There is a certain Southern intonation that many preachers have, because they've come up in that culture, they've come up in that environment, they've been taught by people who speak and talk that way, and it is authentic to them and authentic to who they are. But for Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama from Hawaii, to get up and start trying to do the preacher talk thing it's an insult to black people, because what it says is, it's not the substance of what I have to say that matters. It's the intonation I use in saying it. So as long as it sounds properly black, and I have a caricature now of what that sounds like, okay, everybody ought to be enthralled. It is just so thoroughly disgusting. It really is. And again, I think That's why those of us who support Trump appreciate him so much, because he's authentic. He's the same every time. He doesn't go to a black audience and start trying to sound black. In fact, sometimes he's a little too authentic, because as Gary Hamrick, Pastor Gary Hamrick of Cornerstone Chapel, pointed out, he went to a meeting with him and he used the same foul language he might have used when he's talking to construction guys out in the middle of New York City. Sometimes he's even a little bit too authentic, frankly, but he's real. It's who he is. And you have to give him that. What you see is what you get. And, Donald Trump coined the term fake news, but, you got fake politicians and these fake journalists, and you got all kinds of people trying to be, they're fake, and they're trying to do whatever they consider to be the superficial thing they need to do in order to prove to you how they relate. And I find it just disgusting. It really is. It's just disgusting. But, I guess maybe in that church, that's enough. Once she gets into, because when Hillary Clinton made that stupid, I don't feel no wings tired. That's silly nonsense. And I carry hot sauce in my bag. There were some people who said, she's down with the struggle, brothers. Oh, Lord. I've got a strong stomach, but it's enough to make you nauseous. It really is. It really is. To add insult to injury, she and Tim Walz are actually claiming, now you ready for this one? This just goes to show the level of desperation that they have. They're saying that if Trump gets elected, he will take away black men's Second Amendment rights. Now, not everybody's Second Amendment rights. If Donald Trump gets elected, he will take away black men's Second Amendment rights. She said this to Shannon Sharpe, who is, again, a complete putz. I used to watch, what do they call it, with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, First Take. I used to watch that. And when they split apart, even though, I think Skip Bayless leans conservative based on a lot of things he said, so that gave me some sense. And because then at that time, I love sports, and I love the commentary on different things that were happening in the world of football. I've stopped with all that now since this whole flag kneeling thing turned me off so badly that I just can't get back into it. But then he went to Skip Bayless and went to a program with Shannon Sharpe, and I started watching that a little bit. And then Shannon Sharpe did something one day that I just said, I'll never watch this idiot again. Shannon Sharpe is a guy, in my view, who hates America. Shannon Sharpe hates America. Let me say it again for those of you who might know who he is, might watch him from time to time and think, oh yeah, he's very knowledgeable on sports. He hates America, because here's what happened. He and Skip Bayless were talking about, I forget the player who left the Golden State Warriors. Oh, no. He left, which team did he leave? But he left a team that was competing with the Golden State Warriors. So you sports fans will know what I'm talking about. And went with the Golden State Warriors. And basically, Shannon Sharpe was saying it was a betrayal. And Skip Bayless said, in the course of the discussion, he said, it's capitalism, man. God bless America. And when he said, God bless America, folks, I am not exaggerating, Shannon Sharpe got viscerally angry and said, no, don't say God bless America. I don't believe that. Don't say God bless America. Don't say God bless America. God bless everybody, but not God bless America. He was angry that Skip Bayless, and it was just kind of a throwaway line about, well, it's American freedom, American capitalism. The guy made the decision that he thought was best for him economically and financially. God bless America. Oh, he got, and I thought, oh my goodness, this guy's a hater of America. Well, I guess she was on his program. She knew who she was dealing with, and told this lie that Trump will take away black men's Second Amendment rights. Now, what in the world? I mean, again, she said the First Amendment will be gone. They're the ones who are going to take away First Amendment rights. Tim Walz said so. Hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment. Well, see what I'm saying right now? If I say homosexuality is sin, gender confusion is nothing but sexual deviancy run amok, that's hate speech. If I say I don't call William Thomas by any female name because he's a guy, that's hate speech. You're misgendering. So that all of that, in their view, should be censorable. You should be silenced legally. You're not protected by the First Amendment to be able to say those things. They're the ones who want to take away our First Amendment rights and our Second Amendment rights. Because again, you and I both know, I mean, any woman who can stand up and say, just because you have guns in your private residence doesn't mean we can't come in and see what you've got and how you're handling it. What? You're going to come into my home to... Oh, now though, now she says, I'm in favor of the Second Amendment. I don't believe we should be taking anybody's guns away. Oh, Lord, help us, Jesus. Lord, help us. Because anybody who believes that, I don't know what to say for them. I really don't. I really don't. I mean, they're already talking about they need to confiscate AR-15s. So basically, because these idiots don't know what it's an assault rifle. I mean, again, everything is an assault weapon if you want to use it to assault somebody. An axe is an assault weapon. A hammer is an assault weapon. A car is an assault weapon. And a snub-nosed 38 with only 5 rounds in the chamber is an assault weapon just as much as an AR-15 that holds 30 rounds in a magazine. They all shoot bullets. I mean, well, they all can be used to harm people. Axes, of course, don't shoot bullets, but you know, you get my point. Firearms all shoot bullets, can be used to assault people. What is an assault weapon? Oh, if it looks like something that's made for combat. I mean, again, these folks are the level of ignorance and stupidity and their willingness to opine on issues about which they know absolutely nothing is just staggering. It really is. But at any rate, that reminds me of when George Bush was running. George Bush, who turns out is a moderate to liberal at best. He was presenting himself as a conservative. His daddy is, again, like him, moderate to liberal, but he kind of distanced himself from his father and came out pro-life when his father was in and all that. But remember they said about George Bush too? If he gets elected, he's going to put black people back in slavery. This is the kind of garbage these people trot out. And it is utterly crazy. And it shows how little respect they have for black voters particularly, that they think they would believe that rot and buy that garbage and eat it and swallow it. I mean, but let's face it, some sadly do because they're getting their palms greased. And I'm not just talking about poor people on a welfare check. I'm talking about some of these politicians who are getting good breaks and good jobs and all of that. I won't use some of the analogies I can think to come up with in terms of what they would eat, but you get my point. Because they're bought lock, stock, and barrel. So that's just another one. Tried it out. USA Today has refused to endorse Kamala Harris. this comedian. I don't even know who this guy is. Everybody heard of Mark Maron? I don't know who he is, but he's apparently, he's done a show where he's spearing Trump and his supporters as white supremacists, as fascists. Oh, and by the way, Hasidic Jews endorsed Donald Trump after the Madison Square Garden event. So some Nazi, you got Hasidic Jews endorsing you. Whoopi Goldberg is saying that Donald Trump, if he gets elected, will invalidate all interracial marriages. I mean, folks, you have to laugh at this stuff and to avoid crying. That people would, I mean, that they're that, this woman is making millions of dollars on TV promoting this. I mean, folks, you know what? I'm going to end with this. Please make sure you watch my sermon from Sunday, because I talked about something that was called Christians in Elections. Will you be overcome or be an overcomer? And I used an analogy in that message that I think is just absolutely out of the Holy Spirit bank, which is this: Christians are the immune system for society in the same way that your body's immune system protects you from disease, cancer, all kinds of things that would otherwise ravage your body. If your immune system was turned off today, short of putting you in a hermetically sealed bubble and pumping you with antibiotics, you'd be dead within probably 2 weeks. If your immune system turned off today. And I said, Christians are the immune system for our society. And when Christians fail to vote, when Christians fail to engage, when Christians fail to be the salt and light that Jesus commanded us to be, then we allow the disease of Marxism, socialism, collectivism, totalitarianism, tyranny, fascism, you name it, all of which the left is selling. We allow that disease to take over and infect the body to the point where ultimately it kills it. Christians have got to be engaged. We have got to, because when Jesus said, you are the salt of the earth and the light of the world, both very broad cosmic statements, right? You are the salt of the earth. In other words, the whole earth depends upon the preservative power of your presence. You are the light of the world. The whole world depends upon you to light the way out of moral and spiritual darkness so that they don't self-destruct. Well, when you take that away, which is exactly what I believe is going to happen in the Great Tribulation, you take that away, you withdraw the presence of the Holy Spirit in the saints of God, you withdraw that moral and spiritual restraining power and guiding and directing power. You take that away from human beings and you get the condition of people during Noah times. All of the thoughts of their hearts were only evil continually. And where does that lead? Mass suicide. Self-destruction. I mean, when you think about it, the flood was really self-destruction, because they brought the earth to such a point of wickedness and evil that God had no choice but to wipe them out in order to give it a fresh start, because the corruption was absolutely complete. It says, all of the intents of the thoughts of their hearts were only evil continually. Those are very categorical statements. All, only, continually. That's exactly where the left and the Democrat Party will lead this country if we let them. We've got to be salt and light. We've got to be the immune system for our culture. We've got to be that which preserves it from the decay and the darkness that can only lead to destruction. Okay, we got 1 week, folks. 1 week. If you haven't voted, get out there and vote. If you have, make sure that you try to get others out to vote. And please do check out that message I preached on Sunday, because I think you'll find it really illuminating in terms of Christians' responsibility. And by the way, any Christian who you meet who says, well, I'm not voting, I'm not getting involved, I'm not, and starts spouting all that nonsense, refer them, send them the link to that message and say, you ought to watch this. And then tell me if you still think the same way. Because they're really being in disobedience to Jesus Christ, because he said, you are the salt of the earth. And if the whole earth means everywhere, in everything, in every circumstance, in every situation, and the light of the world, that means everywhere. He said, you don't put a light under a basket. He said, you put it up on a lampstand. So it lights everything. Christians who don't vote are in direct disobedience to Jesus Christ. They are dishonoring God. And in my view, they are spitting on the gift that God gave them, which is a nation of liberty with the opportunity to choose the leadership that governs you. And when they refuse to take that responsibility, they are abdicating before God, and they're saying, I don't care what you gave me. It's not worth me doing anything to preserve it. I'm busy with other things. Thank you very much. I've got my own agenda. And it doesn't include giving a whit about whether the righteous or the wicked are in authority. Wow. I wouldn't want to be saying that to God, would you? Okay, I got to go. Look, folks, God bless you. I will be with you tomorrow. And then I'm going to be traveling the rest of the week, trying to help make sure that we get the vote out there. No, Fox won't be covering it, and so these other outlets might not, but believe me, I will be out there doing my job, doing my part, doing exactly what I've just suggested to you, to every Christian, trying to be salt and light to this rotting and dark world, and the rotting darkness that is trying to take over our country, trying to make sure that that does not happen. And I believe we're going to get it done, but I'm not taking anything for granted. We are running right through the finish line. So you all know what to do. And by the way, this coming Sunday, as I said before, I'll be in Tampa, Florida. Let me just tell you that really quickly, since I'll only have a couple more days to do this. I'll be in Tampa, Florida this coming Sunday, November the 3rd, at Believers Fellowship at 10 a.m. And at Believers Fellowship at 10 a.m. That's at 5240 North Socrum Loop Road in Lakeland, Florida. Believers Fellowship. That's where I will be on Sunday morning, and on Sunday afternoon I will be at the Crossing at 10130 Tuscany Ridge Drive in Tampa, Florida, where somebody cares. The pastor there is Greg Dumas, and has been kind enough to let me come and preach for them that Sunday evening. And we're going to be talking about a whole 50-day fight of prayer that my good friend Daniel Bernard has engineered and put together. And we're concluding that with this sermon and that evening. So, folks, you don't want to miss it. This is going to be kind of a closing rally for me. And then I will be back. I'll be with you on Election Day, and I'll be with you on the day after Election Day, giving you the final insights as to what, in fact, and concluding thereafter with whatever the results are. And I hope that we will have the results by Wednesday morning when I'm on, by next Wednesday morning when I'm on. I hope that we will have the results. But whether we do or we don't, I believe that Donald Trump's going to be the 47th president of the United States. And we're going to be able to dodge the bullet that the left is shooting at this country of trying to drag us into Marxism and socialism and communism and fascism and moral and cultural relativism and sexual deviancy and baby killing and en masse, all of that garbage that they want to drag us into. We're going to be able to escape it and turn the country back moving in a godly direction. And I'm excited about that. So God bless each and every one of you. Stand up, step up, speak up, refuse to back up, because we cannot be defeated if we will not quit, because we are on God's side. God bless everybody. closing's not working.